Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Just got a music download a second ago. Song came out in the 90s. Band was Ace of Base. Song was called The Sign. Have you seen The Sign yet? Do you see the signs? We're going to talk about that today. The signs that are around us that we might not know are there because there's so much going around in our worlds. It's hard to even see the sign. Maybe you've asked for signs. She is somebody that believes in a lot of this and can give us more insight as an intuitive medium. She is Noelle Deane, and she's back with us. Welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing, Steve?
I am good. I'm good. I want to tell everybody, if you want to reach out to us, 631-319-6275, 631-319-6275, or instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. And I guess this all began because last time we got together, talked about a friend of mine who had passed just the day we were talking. I found out like an hour or two before. And somebody I worked with for years in radio, she was my co-host. We're very tight, like brother and sister, and very successful. People know us for that show in the New York area. So I was kind of surprised, sudden passing. Still processing it all. But since it happened just a few days ago, I got some signs. And I want your feedback on what I got.
Okay.
And
lay it on me. Yeah.
It started with me just reflecting, walked into town, had my dog, and we're just walking around. And this is the town where I grew up in. My mom grew up there. My aunt, was there, lived there. My grandmother lived there. So it's kind of our backyard. And it's only maybe 10 minutes away from where I am now. So I'm just thinking, Mom, send me a sign. It's kind of a heavy day thinking about the passing of my friend. So I'm just walking and I stop by, a little restaurant brewery, and I just sit on the bench with my dog. I'm just hanging out, and there's somebody doing karaoke, a karaoke DJ, and people walk up and just mention a song that they want to sing. And then he finds it and he plays it, and the words come up on the screen. He does. Then the person sings. So as soon as I sit down, the first song that comes up that somebody is singing is The Rose by Bette Midler. Came out in 1980. My mom, her name is Rose. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not just sitting there taking it all in. Mm-hmm. The very next song that somebody requests to sing is On the Radio by Donna Summer. And the person that passed, I used to do radio with for a lot of years. So I'm like, Then I'm sitting there waiting. 2 songs later, 10-year-old kid walks up and wants to sing Spirit of Radio by the band Rush. He crushed it, by the way. I mean, because Geddy Lee of Rush has a high-pitched voice. This kid's 10. Amazing. Point here is all of these things, signs from my mom, song with her name. By the way, she loved that song. And on the radio, in the Spirit of Radio, and I'm like, all right, okay. And I just left it at that. I take it as there's no doubt in my mind that I was sent a sign. I asked for it 20 minutes before. Definitely got it. What's your feeling on that?
Whew, well, I'm getting big chills right now. So somebody may be coming to join us. And I do believe it is your friend. So I feel the physical presence of energy. So I'll see if I get a signal that she has an actual message. But I am clear that I feel her here. And I got a yes that it was her. Still getting a yes.
I wondered about that because while my mom supported my radio career, she used to drive me to my first job before I had a driver's license. I got a job on the radio doing afternoon drive shift when I was 17. I didn't have a license. So she was part of that journey. Mm-hmm. But then I also wonder, because of the radio songs, could it be my friend also?
And look, we've kind of talked about this before, the idea of learning how to trust yourself. Like you picking up these signs, I mean, even just how much you believe it makes me believe it. But also, we have to ask ourselves, how much evidence do we need?
I agree.
I mean,
I totally agree.
there are thousands of accounts of near-death experiences, and books, and there's just so much information that validates that people like me and you get the information that we get. We believe it because we've learned over time to trust ourselves. At what point can we stop questioning?
Mm,
Especially you got three, look, that you felt led to sit, to go to town, that you felt led to sit where you sat, that you felt led to ask for that sign. And that, to me, all of that is the part of the synchronicity of all of it. All of those.
I didn't even consider that. And thank you for that. And people were doing things that night, and I could have hung out with this friend and hung out, whatever. I just didn't want to. Something said, take him for a walk. You need to go with him. And I did it like 2 weeks before. I took him out, same area, went to the same place. Just it feels very comfortable. And he's cool with people. Occasional dog walks by, he might bark, but very rare. But he's a good dog like that. I need to get him out. I had to go. Like inside of me, you're going, stop fighting it and just grab the leash and get going. And if it was me asking for a sign and a butterfly floated by, or, saw a quarter on the ground or something
Yeah.
like that, if that supported me or somebody else, all right, that's fine. This is so specific
Yeah.
that how do you discount it? It's not like I requested those songs. There are literally millions of songs out there
Mhm.
and all different genres that anybody could pick. And why in that span? I was only there, for, short period of time. They
Mhm.
were already doing karaoke before. They were already doing it before. It's not like I walked in and the shift started at 7 p.m. The other songs could have played before. I could have missed it. It was when I sat down and just with my dog, just reflecting, bing, first song, second one, then the third one. I don't know. And as honestly, at that point, I wasn't even paying attention to the songs. I was like, all right, I got what I needed. Thank you. And a couple of people, random people came up and said, well, what kind of dog is that? And then we just had conversations. So then I
Mm.
wasn't even thinking about, what was going on there, in terms of the music. So I don't know. What are your feelings overall on that?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't question those types of things any longer. I love that you're that connected. And actually a question came through for you that I feel is connected to your friend. You
What?
ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Steve, what would it mean if you were that connected to her and the universe?
How do you
What
mean?
would that what would that mean to you if you could stop questioning and accept, I am that connected. I'm that connected to her. I'm that connected to my mom. I'm actually that connected to the universe.
I will tell you that there is no doubt that I am completely connected to my mom.
Mm,
100% have been for a couple of years now because of these signs, very specific. Connected to my friend, never considered it. Um, Now I consider it.
mm.
Same thing with my dad. I don't feel connected to my father, who passed away when I was 21. Have I asked for signs? No.
Yeah.
Should. And as a
Okay.
matter of fact, not to go deep into the rabbit hole here, but my friend passed away within hours of the anniversary of my father's passing, which was also the birthday of a very close friend, which was also the day I was taking my son to college for the very first time. So if you analyze it, could it be the end of one journey in my life and another begins with my son?
Mm,
And but however you want to look at it, there's a synchronicity there I haven't figured out. There's something, why all on the same day within a few hours? Why? What's going on? She could have passed 3 months from now. It's on
mm.
within a few hours, literally within 24 hours, less of the passing of my father. And his passing was sudden too. I don't
Mm.
know. I think we have a call. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, it's Mark.
Hey, Mark. Mark's checking in from Ocala, Florida. Um, Thanks for calling in. We have Noelle here. Do you have a question for her?
Noelle, yeah, I do. It's fascinating. Well, I have two questions actually. Um, I had a friend pass in high school, childhood friend, Julie, and she was amazing. But she had cancer. But when she was almost dying, she said to me, "Where am I going to go?" And that always stuck with me throughout my life.
Hmm. Well,
So
what
it
are your
was,
thoughts on that, Noelle?
Well, Mark, thank you so much for bringing your question. I'm going to read my disclaimer real quick and then I'm going to answer that. So, the information presented on this podcast is educational in nature and provided only as general information, is not medical or psychological advice, nor is it a substitute for seeking licensed healthcare services. And on saying that, Mark, I just want to say I could feel the emotion when you mentioned your friend, especially her name. And the words that popped into my head was, I've missed you. And I'm getting big chills about that. And just this morning, as I was going on my walk, I was asking my grandmother to give me some information to talk about what we were going to talk about today, which I knew we would bring up about Steve's friend passing. I appreciate you bringing
right.
up about Julie. And part of what she was saying is that if we believe in reincarnation, which many of us do, we have to recognize that we have left our bodies hundreds of times.
Hmm.
So now we forget everything when we are born, but there is something actually very familiar about that transition process that we don't realize while we're still here. And if you listen to accounts of people who've had near-death experiences, Mark, just to maybe take some of the fear or mystery out of it, often people report very beautiful experiences of that transition, the tunnel, coming back, being greeted. There's so much love waiting for us on the other side, but I can imagine any young person being terrified of change just because that's part of being young.
She was
And
young.
I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. What's your second question, Mark?
Well, Noelle, that makes me feel better because my sister just died. So, yeah, I'm going through a lot of pain.
Hmm.
So, but she had cerebral palsy and, just brain damage. And, yeah, so anyway, she passed to 62. So, I guess my question to you is, um, how do we deal with this better?
Yeah, that's actually a
But
great
you, you,
question.
you've given me. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, please finish what you're saying.
Well, what's great about what you've been saying, I
Mhm.
do believe in reincarnation. So, yeah, you know, your expertise, but we are, I'm very conflicted. Um, I didn't visit her when she was in the hospital, when she was going through this, and I feel guilty about that.
Totally get that. Thank you for bringing up my grandmother's first point about when somebody leaves the earth. Her words, don't reach for guilt. Because that seems to be the first thing that all of us go to is, oh my goodness, I didn't call more often. I didn't visit more often. I didn't say all these things I should have said. And her words of, and my grandmother is coming through often to give different kinds of relationship advice from the other side. She passed about 30 years ago. And guilt is a place where we often get emotionally stuck. And maybe it's a place to stop us from actually dealing with the sadness of that transition of that person leaving the earth. But we also need to remember that there are ways to stay connected. You know, Steve was talking earlier about signs and accepting that we are all, as much as we can be, in the flow of things. And that implores connection with people on this side, that side, spiritual guides. Maybe, Mark, you could just try on, if it feels right to you, that you are somebody who could receive signs, you could feel the presence of the people that you love if you allowed
I do.
yourself. Oh, good. Does that help you deal with the
It
sadness
does.
at all?
It actually
Okay.
does. Yeah. But I can embrace it more. That's a great point.
Yeah. And look, the only, let's say, communication gap between you and these people that you love is you can't hear them, but they can hear you. They hear you. They hear, when I do mediumship readings, sometimes I try to remember to talk out loud to the person in spirit so my client on the other side of Zoom can hear what I'm asking, but they hear me just as well when I talk to them in my head. And the same is true for you. So
Thank
you
you,
could
Noel.
say, oh, my pleasure.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry
Well,
for that.
no, 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 it's okay. Just to say, when your friend visits, you could say, like, hey, I'm glad to feel you today. Or, hey, you can come in even a little bit closer if you want to. Or, hey, I'm going to play this song because I remember this being your favorite song. And then actually consider that she's there spending time with you.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I,
actually wrote my mom a note.
oh,
It's, and it's a
That was
post
great.
it's a post-it note. I keep it right here.
oh,
Why
yeah,
not? What do you got to lose? That's the way I look at it. And
yeah.
Right.
but appreciate you calling in, Mark.
Thank you for
All right.
calling, Mark.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Noel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
my
feel better.
pleasure.
Great.
Good, good.
Thank you.
Very
You
glad.
well.
Cheers. Cheers
You
to you.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
So question, we've never asked this question or somebody hasn't yet. When somebody passes, and there's lots of different belief based on your religious
Yeah.
affiliation, where do you believe people go?
What do I actually believe?
Yeah, I want to know.
Well, well, from everything I've learned, it only makes sense to me that we sort of show up. We go through whatever transition we go through. We kind of wake up. We are either surrounded by lots of people, maybe not lots of people, but there are people that greet us, that we are part of a soul pod. So there are people we incarnate with to learn different lessons, to try to have different experiences. And some of them are waiting for us on the other side, as well as people that we spent time with here, and I'm assuming even our pets. And then at some point we go through a life review, which is we see the impact of our actions on everybody that we had an impact on, good or bad. And there are ways that we train ourselves. It feels to me when I think about it like it's just so vast, I kind of really can't even comprehend it because some things I've heard, it sounds like there's a bit of a university set up where there's a lot of learning happening. I just think it's the opposite of resting in peace. Like, I don't look forward to not being here, but to be honest, I'm pretty damn excited about being on the other side and having infinite energy, helping infinite and innumerable people, and to just help keep the flow going,
Hmm.
doing whatever I can.
I was going to ask you that question, and the question was going to be, are you afraid to pass?
I'm annoying. I feel a little bit annoyingly excited about it.
I get you. I get you. And we don't want to manifest things because I believe you can manifest. So I'm
Exactly.
very
Yeah.
careful to talk about it. But
Yeah.
in years past, I would be afraid of that. Like,
Mm,
oh, you're at the doctor. What if they tell me to? Now I don't look at it that way.
mm,
Um, and I'm on your page with most of what you said. The reincarnation thing, I'm not saying I don't believe in it at all. I'm learning more about it. And
mhm,
again, goes back to the sign. I'm looking at signs.
mm,
I have conversations with people. I talk to people that deal in energy and do past life regressions. And I just take it back like I'm the fly on the wall. Like, interesting. Well, that seems very reasonable. Once heard a story of somebody who went to uh, for a past life regression and didn't reveal anything to them. And they said, yeah, well, you know what? Back in the, I think it was 1700s, you were shot in the back. And he goes, I can't believe you said that. I have been dealing with a pain in my back, in the center of my back. I don't know what it is, but there's like something there, like you see, like an indentation. This person didn't know.
Yeah.
So then, I connect the dots and like, it's reasonable to think that maybe past life regression is true based on that. And what we're talking about, the signs, I would be skeptical until I saw them. And now I'm open to it. And one day, a couple of years ago, I was sitting in my garage, just staring at the trees, thinking I could live pretty much anywhere at this point in my life. It could be
Mm.
simple. Pretend I'm in the mountains somewhere. And then I thought, you know what? We are spiritual beings in a human container, as opposed to the other way around. And my belief is based on the signs.
Mm.
I wouldn't have thought that. So I think when somebody passes, their energy is around us. So it's there.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. It's around. Call it. Ask for it. It'll show
Yeah.
up. But you gotta look for it and ignore the stuff around you before it does.
And enjoy it when it shows up.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy it. Like when I teach mediumship, people are in a rush, it seems, to want to receive messages. Like that's the only valid sign of their love. But no, that's not true at all. Just feeling them around you, even when you're feeling sad, like when you're thinking of your friend and you're feeling the pain of that, that easily could be a sign her energy's right there. And that's part of why it feels painful to you, is because you're feeling her. So allow yourself to feel that, and then allow yourself to feel open to the idea that she's actually there with you. And the thing about leaving the earth and crossing over is there is a letting go. I mean, I do try to remember to say, like, hey, I'm in no rush. I'm happy to be here for another
Yeah.
40 something years. But
Yeah.
I look forward to what I think is all the cool work that happens on the other side and being a part of that.
I believe because, and you're saying this because you saw the sign.
Mm,
You saw signs of what in the work you do and the connections and all of that. You have a better understanding of what's going on there. So
yeah.
it's not as scary, if you will. No, we don't want to go anywhere. I have stuff to do. But it's
Yeah.
it's it's comforting to know, what's around if you just take it all in. And
Yeah.
you're the third person, I believe, yeah, to say today, indifferent, not about this topic, just in general, about if you're feeling a certain way, that's when you should process it.
Mhm.
Meaning, well, just what you said, if you're feeling sad, there's, maybe that person is there. When you're feeling a certain emotion, deal with it then. Don't let it go because there's a reason you're feeling it.
Yeah, don't waste the opportunity. I mean, you were
Sure.
talking about signs. I recently had this I was driving home and had this urge to go to this one particular store to get cilantro and ran into an old coworker, somebody that we weren't ever really on the same page. I don't know what the purpose was of running into that person, but I felt very drawn to do that. So I listen to these seemingly random things, and I
Mm-hmm.
regret when I don't listen. There are times when I just feel kind of lazy and I don't. And then I just have to let that go and hope that whatever that opportunity was, I get it again.
Mm.
And I have heard also many times about having past life experiences still ring true with us in certain ways. Like I have an irrational fear of drowning. I've never even come close to drowning, but I've always been pretty terrified. I can't even really watch it in a movie. I have to say to myself, breathe, breathe. So I'm convinced that's a past life experience. And there are other things as well, but these things stick with us. Our souls don't, from what I understand, our souls and the piece of our soul that comes down into our bodies, it does not get washed clean of all of its issues from every incarnation. We are here learning, we're on this path to learn, which also hopefully can give encouragement that if you're doing some healing work, that you're also going to take that with you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And our lineage is there from our past. I had a real brief, we're out of time. I'll keep it so short. I had somebody do my genealogy background. She didn't do it deep. She just kind of skimmed it. I had found out that Lithuanian. I never even knew. Just did the DNA test. And I always had this affinity of the 1800s, and I loved looking at the clothes back then when there was, photography, technology was just kind of kicking in, but you could see, I'm like, how do they do that? Those clothes look like they were made today. How do they do that? And then she told me, yeah, I traced back. She had no idea. I never said that to her. Traced back that my father's father's father in the 1800s came from Lithuania and was a tailor, worked his butt off, made it to New York City, worked so hard at that craft that he was able to buy his family a home or a place in the city.
Wow.
And I have this affinity, never even knew. So, that's in us. These things from our past, whether you realize it or not, or things from our past where we may have lived in the past are back here again. How do we find you? If somebody's had a question, they want to dig deep into it, maybe a reading, make sense of things.
Yeah.
How do we find
you? Yeah, I'm with you. So I can be reached at connectingwithnoelle.com. It's Noelle. And also connectingwithnoelle@gmail.com. I really want to thank Mark so much for calling in. Loved your questions. Hope to hear from you again if you have more. And that's the best way to reach me. And we can take more callers next week too.
Love it. Thank you so much. And we'll catch up then.
Steve.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.